Your Money, brought to you by the Welch Group.
Young parents have a lot to think about when it comes to setting themselves and their children up for financial success.
Our Jonathan Skinner recently sat down with financial expert Jay McGowan from the Welch Group to discuss some options to consider.
All right, so for our young parents out there, maybe some who are just moving to the Huntsville area or North Alabama, there's a lot of things to consider, a lot of things to think about, family-wise, bringing a newborn into the world, or if you got young kids, financial things you have to consider as well. What are some ways that these young parents can set up their kids for success?
Yeah, so I would say that the first thing, and really this goes for anybody at any stage of life, take care of the basics first. A lot of times with change, especially with new young families, babies being born, you kind of want to take control of the situation and make all these big decisions. I think taking a step back and really taking care of the financial basics on the front end can really set you and your family up for success. A couple of those things would be, the emergency fund. I know we've talked about this on here before, but life throws a lot at you. You want to make sure that you have 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses in cash, readily available, where if there happens to be a job loss or somebody gets sick or something happens with a house, you can access that money and not go into debt to do so. And then speaking of debt, I think another thing is on the front end when you're young, starting out as a family, really attacking that high interest debt. If you have a piece of debt that's at 15-20%, credit cards, maybe a student loan, whatever the case may be, if you're barely attacking those, you're kind of only going back. Okay. Yeah. And then for young families, this is really important when you have kids, is getting those protections in place. So life insurance, disability insurance, and basic estate planning documents, wills, power of attorneys, medical directives, things like that. You just, heaven forbid something happens, but you want to know and have peace of mind that if something does happen, your family is going to be okay financially without you.
And speaking to that, we think about the kids' future, but you sort of have to set up your own future to make sure that's in a good place as well.
100% agree. So I use the analogy put your mask on first, when you're in the airplane and they say in the event of cabin, pressure changes, the mask will drop. Put yours on first before you help somebody else. I think the same thing goes with when you're thinking about your financial future and your kids' financial future. It's going to serve them better as well as you to take care of yourself on the front end. And so, that's near term, short-term or long-term type goals, retirement savings, retirement planning, stuff like that. Really, when you're starting out your life, the house you buy, the vehicles you buy, the vacations you take, those big ticket items, if you make a bad decision on those financially, it can be hard to dig out of that hole. So I would say young parents, take care of those things first, and then after you're kind of on solid ground with your situation, look towards your kids' future. And that would be, 529 plans for college. If you're wanting to save for, to give them a start to their life after college, you can look at UTMA accounts. Those are trust accounts that you manage for the child while they're a minor. You can just have a regular investment account for them. If they're in the teenage years and they have a side job or working part-time, you can contribute to a Roth IRA on their behalf. And I would say one thing too with the kids, a lot of times just the education piece of it is overlooked. If you can impart really good, sound financial principles and practices to your kids over their life, that's gonna pay dividends long after you stop providing for them.
Some really good advice there, and you mentioned some of those big decisions as well. renting, buying. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week. All right.
Absolutely.
Jay, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Remember, you can watch all these Your Money segments on our website, WAFF.com, or you can watch us here every Tuesday at 4 p.m.